little town, I grew up believing God keeps his eye on us all.
So welcome to our celebration of life for our beloved Mema, Jean K. Freeman. We're happy you all could join us today. We'd like to start by singing together, I Walk in the Garden Alone.
Does everybody have their lyrics out? I come to the garden alone while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear calling on my ear, the Son of God discloses, and He walks with me and He talks with me, that He tells me I am His own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. He speaks and the sound of His voice is so sweet, the birds hush their singing, and the melody that He gave to me within my heart is ringing. And He walks with me and He talks with me, and He tells me I am His own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. I'd stay in the garden with Him, though the night around me be falling, but He bids me go to the voice of woe. His voice to me is calling, and He walks with me and He talks with me, and He tells me I am His own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. Yes, the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known.
He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me on His paths for His name's sake in divine love. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for God is with me. God's blessings and staff, they comfort me. God prepares a table before me in the presence of all souls. God anoints my head with oil, and my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in God's house of divine love forever and ever.
I'm Amy Freeman, if there's anyone who doesn't know that I'm Leslie's younger sister. Not by much. I'm Jean's second daughter. I live in Ohio, and I've met many of you because I visit here a lot. So thank you for coming today to help us celebrate the life of my mother, Jean King Freeman. My poem is actually called Warning. Very few people know that. They all call it When I'm an Old Woman, I Shall Wear Purple. It's by an English author named Jenny Joseph, and she happened to pass away when I was visiting Mom in January. And so this poem came up again, and we enjoyed it one last time. Warning. When I'm an old woman, I shall wear purple with a red hat, which doesn't go and doesn't suit me. And I shall spend my pension on brandy and summer gloves and satin sandals and say we've no money for butter. I shall sit down on the pavement when I'm tired and gobble up samples in shops and press alarm bells and run my stick along the public railings and make up for the sobriety of my youth. I shall go out in my slippers in the rain and pick other people's flowers and learn to spin. You can wear terrible shirts and grow more fat and eat 3 pounds of sausages at a go, or only bread and pickle for a week, and hoard pens and pencils and beer mats and things in boxes. But now we must have clothes that keep us dry and pay our rent and not swear in the street and set a good example for the children. We must have friends to dinner and read the papers. But maybe I ought to practice a little now, so people who know me are not too shocked and surprised when suddenly I'm old and start to wear purple. I have some words I'd like to say about Mom. Leslie and I talked about it, and I don't know how to put all my words into this. So this is just a tiny sliver of some memories of Mom. My mother, Jean King Freeman, had 2 daughters, together with her husband, Alfred Freeman. I was the second born after Leslie, but Mom got a taste of mothering before us. Dad had 2 daughters already, Lynn and Lori. Mom and Dad got to visit with them when they were sweet adolescents, and they became very successful adults. They're both in California. I understand there were some stepmom challenges, but they had fun together. Lynn made special efforts to keep in touch with Mom, and Mom always enjoyed those visits and phone calls with Lynn in California. Mom was from a large family that struggled during the Great Depression and Dust Bowl years. The dust storms made day-to-day life difficult as it devastated towns, farms, livestock, and everything that became covered in its dust from windblown topsoil. Mom didn't talk about that a lot, but we knew it was part of her growing up. She did not grow up with a defeated mindset. All of those early difficulties made her determined to live life on her own terms. I came into my mother's life when she was 36, and I wish I could tell you more about those first 36 years. She didn't talk about it much. She was more interested in moving ahead, doing what needed to be done, and making the most of opportunities. Long before I knew her, Mom found ways to save money and make things that would turn a house into a home. She could really sew up a storm. I wish I had saved some of Mom's dress patterns from the 1950s. The patterns were illustrated with stylish watercolor sketches of models and dresses with impossibly narrow waistlines. You may remember Jackie Kennedy's suit with the wide neckline and a collar that reached from shoulder to shoulder. Mom had patterns like that, and she could rework the patterns to fit her shape or mine or Leslie's. She filled shoe boxes with buttons, lace, and all sorts of embellishments, so there would always be a way for her to make her clothes unique. Mom's time with me doing crafts and sewing led me to making costumes for high school plays, and then trying my hand with other aspects of theater at my high school. So I'm just really grateful to her for that. Last month, after Mom died in April, I was thrilled to see the royal wedding with Meghan Markle wearing a classic bateau neckline. Mom would have appreciated the understated, beautiful design of that designer dress. Mom taught me how to sew clothes while she was making drapes and dresses and running the household. She made so many beautiful and practical things, it's hard to describe how talented she was. You might notice in the slideshow a picture of her hand-sewn white wool coat or the black dress made with a border print. And it just looks like a designer dress too. Mom took every opportunity to teach Leslie and me how to do things ourselves. Mom's garden was far more than just a pretty one. The fruit we picked from the cherry and apple trees were harvested for pies and frozen for winter. Flowers and herbs were hung and dried, if not used fresh. Mom grew tomatoes, lettuce, cucumbers, and more. Zucchini was my favorite because it was fun to make zucchini bread together with Mom. I don't know if we made any of it. All of that shredding of overgrown squashes was worth it to get those loaves of dense, sweet zucchini bread. Mom also tried many recipes from Julia Child's cookbooks and her TV show. That was mainly before we arrived, but she did some impressive things before she had kids to take care of. Mom built a brick patio when she was in her 60s. That was just incredible to me. Her only helper was our German Shepherd, Misha, who you may also see in the slideshow. The photograph shows Misha helping Mom with the wheelbarrow and having a blast as Mom's #1 cheerleader. Those of you who know about Jean's fondness for the basket class here in Sarasota may have heard about other things she made for our colonial-style house in Ohio. She learned to weave the rattan seats of rocking chairs and how to upholster furniture like our sofa and chairs. She cut scraps of wool to make a giant hooked rug that hung in the living room from floor to ceiling. She was always creating or refurbishing something. When she refinished furniture, it was usually to discover a beautiful wood finish beneath layers of old paint. Somehow Mom found the time to do all these things while working outside the home, including 10 years at The Ohio State University, and inside our home, typing papers for PhD candidates. She worked with a lot of foreign students, and she cultivated values that respected all people. She had a mind of her own. The older she got, the more willing she was to speak her mind. When she thought peace was getting the short end of the stick, she spoke up to a surprised crowd at her church. That caused conflict, but she was never in doubt that someone had to talk about the high cost in human lives on both sides of the war. In Mom's later days, we talked about current events and politics and just about anything and everything except sports. It was great to hear her thoughtful ways of considering issues in light of the values she had so strongly cultivated throughout her life. I am so very proud of my mother. I loved her, and we told each other that every time we hung up the phone. Thank you for listening, and thank you for sharing the joy that I knew in my mother, Jean Kane Freeman.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for coming to celebrate the life of Jean K. Freeman, also known as Mom, also known as Mema. I've written this out so I don't falter, and I wish to share these words with you. I call them Mom's Life Treasures. Jean K. Freeman had a contentment that ruled her life, making it simple to be happy. My mother rarely flailed, and I believe she is at peace in heaven also. Why wouldn't she be? It's the norm for her. I think maybe that's how my mom and dad fell in love at first sight so easily. At a bowling alley tournament in San Francisco in the 1940s. Love comes knocking easiest when one is happy, at peace, and young. Mom never worried about being right. She simply did what she thought was the best thing she could do. Recently, I heard Pastor Andy Stanley give a talk on how to be happy in life. He said, 1, be right with yourself. 2, get right with others. And 3, get right with God. Mom was all of these. Yes, in older age, she would grump a bit if the coffee wasn't very good somewhere. But 99% of the time, she basically allowed herself to be human, content, and happy. How did she find the treasures of her life? Mom found great joy in nature and constructing something out of what nature provides. Whether it was weeding, gardening, creating a living space, a beautiful basket made of reed, creating anything and everything a body could wear or use. She knitted colorful African blankets, refinished all kinds of furniture, built patios and a koi pond in the backyard. But Mom didn't strive to make great memories. They naturally occurred as she went through her creative processes and her appreciation of daily life. Mom was gratitude in action, no matter what her physical limitations were. Mom was always willing to help if she could and felt strongly the need to be informed. And then empowering other people if she could. That's where her fondness for Minnesota Lighthouse, the Sarasota Council of the Blind, and NPR on the radio every morning came from. The only issues like Amy I ever saw Mom rally against was injustice of any kind. And that is where this mother of mine would raise her voice without hesitation. Mom's greatest pleasures were nature, art, music, singing, books. Last year, she read 168 books on her talking machine.
Really?
Yeah. Her favorites were mysteries, Inspector Clouseau, Agatha Christie, Hamish Macbeth, and Agatha Raisin, politics in the evening news, Stephen Colbert, Jon Stewart, documentaries on anything by Bill Moyers, humor via Lisa Scottoline, and especially Dave Barry. Lots of repeats of Dave Barry coming through the walls in her bedroom. When Mom upended her home in 1992, moving from Ohio to co-parent Destiny with me in Sarasota, at first, I had feared I'd stolen part of her life's golden years. But as time tarried on, watching Mema and Destiny together, spending time together as her granddaughter grew and bloomed, I realized that nothing was stolen. Mom saw Destiny as a huge light of her life, just as I always have. And now Carlo, Destiny's husband, another light of love, has joined our family circle. Mom was truly at peace knowing Destiny had found her lifetime companion, future, and bliss. Mom always let our family know she liked us as well as loved us. That would seem like a normal thing, right? But now I see that we were very lucky and blessed. Not everyone gets that. Mom and Dad, Mom deeply cherished my dad, Al Freeman, her one great lifetime love, and didn't see the need for anyone else in that capacity after he passed. I guess no one else would have come close to their special love story. Mom chose to remember the good times, not Dad's Alzheimer's illness or the struggles that came with it. Mom had the gift of making the best of a bad situation, even to the end, and left any ugly parts of life behind her, rolling away like tumbleweeds that dot the Kansas prairies where she was first born. More treasures, animals. Mom had a huge heart for all things winged or four-footed. 3 cats, 2 dogs as she raised us, 1 more cat, Molly, after her move here. My kitty Tree Girl was her nurse nanny cat. Tree Girl spent over a year with Mema at her bedside while she was ill. As we go through Mom's things, I realize most all of Mom's knickknacks and bookshelf sculptures are of birds. Mom marveled at birds. She rejoiced cardinals after making their first spring appearances after wintry days in Ohio, saying, "Oh, look!" She was fascinated by egrets, great blue herons, and beach birds of Siesta Key and Lido. Especially as Mom's sight diminished, she relished mornings listening to the bird songs in our yard as she sipped her coffee on the lanai. Mom sang everywhere she could, in school, in community choirs, along with the radio. Even in the end days of her life, every night she listened to music after reading or talking books. Ella Fitzgerald, Johnny Mercer, Bing, Frank, I always wondered what the neighbors thought as they could hear these truly great 1950s songs blasting from her bedroom at 1 a.m. And then they'd see the hospice nurses arrive in the morning. That's why I'm delighted that Mindy and Bruce are here today with us with their musical talents. Mom very much enjoyed Mindy music concerts and the musical talents of all our friends. And at this moment, celebrating Mom, I feel she would want me to perhaps be her voice, since she's here in spirit, but cannot speak aloud through the veil of heaven. Although you may hear her presence in a whispering wind or a bird's melody. So as I close, everyone know this. Please know how much she adored you all. Her friends from the council, the lighthouse, her basketry class buddies, Rosie, right there, her special caregiving angel, old friends from the Worthington, Columbus, and OSU days, our family friends, and of course, Amy, Destiny, Carlo, my Aunt Wilma and Uncle Dick, and my half-sister Lynn and Lori, who cannot be here today, but have always lived in Mom's heart, along with her siblings Bernie, Joe, Marjorie, and Bob, who predeceased her. Mom treasured her times with you, each and every one of you, whether in a brief chat, a dinner, a long-distance phone call, or a 2-hour meeting. Mom was always especially sunny after connecting with each and every one of you. And for those of you who didn't know her well, but are here in support of our family, we thank you very much too. So I will close with thank you again for her, for being such important parts and times of the many treasures in my mom's life, Jean Freeman.
Anyone else care to share at this time?
Hello?
Yes.
Thank you for letting me speak. This is wonderful. I mean, what you've all been saying right now, hit the nail right on the head. My name is Elliot Benowitz. I've been facilitating an older blind person's support group for a number of years. I've known your mother for probably 18 years, 19 years through the Lighthouse and through the council. And I'm here today to, as kind of delegated by the, especially by the Lighthouse support group, but also the others, because it's just hard for blind people, half of who live in Bradenton, and the other half who have a lot of difficulty of their own to get out at all. So I speak for them, and we love her, we appreciate her. She had a hell of a lot of spunk, and she was her own person. And when somebody goes, it's like a star kind of all of a sudden appears, and as it rises, it becomes clearer and clearer. And now she's gone, you can see her, you can kind of see her life clearly. You can see her life clearly, and it's very beautiful. So thank you.
Well, I just want to say that these three fantastic women have been such a blessing in my life. Jean and Leslie and Destiny J. Have meant so much to me, and now I'd like to include Amy and Carlos, if that's okay with you guys. And one of the words that was coming to me as I was coming up from Punta Gorda this morning, Jean incidentally smiling over my shoulder and whispering in my ear, was about, I think the word treasure really does embody her. And when I think of her amazing abilities with her baskets and other creativity, and always a gentle smile, always a kind word. There's just so many things to love and appreciate about her. I always thought of her as truly a gentle woman, in every sense of the word, if you understand what I mean. So I just want to tell you that this has been very much an honor and definitely a privilege. Thank you for allowing me to do this. Sorry about that. Thought I could do this.
Let me introduce this to you guys because some of you may not have heard this song. It's an old song by, I think, Nat King Cole. And basically, this is one of Mom's favorite songs to sing. So I thought we could just sing it out to her. It's called Lazy, Hazy, Crazy Summer, and it's not solemn. Sing on. Oh. And thank you to Bruce for joining in with Mindy today.
I just would like to say something before we start. My wife and I visited Jean before she passed, maybe 3 or 4 days before. And I didn't know if she recognized me, but I said, "Hey Jean, it's Bruce." And she goes to me, "Are you still blowing that horn?" So this is to do.
Roll out those lazy, lazy, crazy days of summer. Those days of soda and pretzels and beer. Roll out those lazy, lazy, crazy days of summer. Dust off the southern bloom and sing a song of cheer. Just fill your basket full of sandwiches and beanies. Then lock the house up. Now you're set. And on the beach you'll see the girls in their bikinis. As cute as ever, but they never get wet. Roll out those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer. Those days of soda and pretzels and beer. Roll out those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer. Don't wish that summer could always be here. Don't have to tell a girl about a drive-in or some romantic movie it seems. Or from the moment that those lovers start arriving, you'll see more kissing in the cars than on the street. Roll out those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer. Those days of soda and pretzels and beer. Roll out those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer. Don't wish that summer could always be here. Don't wish that summer could always be here. Yes, you will. Don't wish that summer could always be here.
So you were the famous Rosie.
Oh boy.
Sweetie pie, you're such a sweetie pie.
That's right.
It seems I can't get enough of your sweet kisses, kisses that let me know what bliss is.
How did I get by?
Till the day that I caught your eye.
When we're arm in arm, gee, I feel so proud. You got more charm than the law allowed you.
Sweetie pie, you know I'll be hanging around you. Glad that I found you, wonderful sweetie pie. Sweetie pie, you know that we're gonna be heading for a big wedding. You and I, sweetie pie.